What if protecting kids online ends up creating new criminals? Today, we're looking at how well-meaning predator hunting stings can go dangerously off the rails and the two rules you must never break. Hey everyone, and welcome back. I'm your host, and today we're diving into a really important and complex topic. The major lines you should never cross if you decide to engage in this kind of work, whether we call it catfishing, being a decoy, or predator hunting. As technology has woven itself into the fabric of our daily lives, the internet and social media have become the new public square. It's where we connect, share, and live a significant portion of our lives. But this digital world is a double-edged sword. While it offers incredible opportunities for connection, it also creates new avenues for danger. A huge portion of the user base on platforms like Discord, Roblox, Instagram, and TikTok are children and teenagers. The anonymity of the internet makes it a disturbingly effective hunting ground for predators and groomers. Unlike the real world where they face significant barriers, online they can create a completely fabricated identity with a fake profile picture and no verifiable credentials. They can easily approach a minor, offer them digital currency like Robux or a Discord Nitro subscription in exchange for explicit material or conversations, and then vanish without a trace. It's a chillingly simple process. Frustratingly, many of the massive corporations running these platforms seem perpetually one step behind, or even in some cases intentionally protecting these people. This perceived inaction has led a growing number of people to decide to take the matters into their own hands. This is where predator catfishing comes in. Now, for those who might not be familiar, in this context, catfishing refers to the practice of creating a fake online profile, posing as an underage person to attract online predators. The goal is to get them to incriminate themselves by soliciting inappropriate content or attempting to arrange meetup, gather undeniable evidence of their criminal intent, and then expose them to law enforcement. This practice exists on a spectrum. On one end, you have independent creators like Schlep, who focuses on catching predators on Roblox and works to get them arrested. On the more professional and large-scale end, you have figures like Chris Hansen, whose television shows like To Catch a Predator were massive sting operations that led to dozens of on-camera arrests. While the intention behind this work can be noble, it's a field riddled with legal and ethical pitfalls. Some people with good intentions misunderstand the rules and accidentally commit crimes themselves. Others more cynically exploit the predator catcher label to justify their own harmful or illegal behavior. To help you navigate this minefield, I want to break down the two absolute biggest mistakes you can make as a predator catcher: vigilantism and entrapment. I know these sound like big technical terms, so let's unpack exactly what they mean and why they are so critical to understand. The first rule: avoid vigilantism at all costs. So what exactly is vigilantism? In simple terms, a vigilante is someone who bypasses the legal system to enact their own brand of justice. They take on the roles of judge, jury, and sometimes even executioner, punishing someone they believe to be guilty without any legal authority. So let's be crystal clear. Vigilantism is a crime. You might be thinking, but what does this have to do with catching a predator? The connection is this. Your job as a decoy is to gather evidence for the authorities, not to inflict punishment. Let me give you a high-profile example. A while back, streamers Aiden Ross and Vitally conducted their own predator catching stunt. When they confronted a man in their store who believed he was meeting a 15-year-old, they didn't just detain him for the police. They instead grabbed a megaphone and started screaming, "He's here to meet a 15-year-old" throughout the store.
This guy right here is online trying to meet a 15-year-old kid.
Yeah.
He's trying to put a grown man dick out in the
Charles.
baby.
Keep going, Charles.
He's trying to put a grown man dick out, trying to fuck a 15-year-old kid.
Yeah.
In other encounters, they forced a man to gamble, made another kiss their shoes, and even threatened one with a live alligator. This is the perfect example of what not to do. Who gives them the right to publicly humiliate, threaten, or assault someone? Sure, the target is an alleged predator, but in that moment, the catchers become perpetrators of assault, public disturbance, and potentially extortion. Let's not forget other instances where so-called catchers have used the evidence they gathered to scam the predator out of money in exchange for their silence. Here's the bottom line. The predator's crime doesn't give you a free pass to commit your own. In the same way that the predator is guilty even though he was talking to a decoy and not a real child, you are guilty of extortion or assault even if your victim is a predator and not someone innocent. The only correct and legally sound course of action is this. Gather the evidence, document everything, and immediately turn it to the police. You do not get to decide the punishment. You don't make them kiss your shoes, you don't publicly shame them, and you certainly don't blackmail them for money. Your role ends the moment you hand the evidence to the authorities. They are the ones with the power to investigate, arrest, and prosecute. This is why you should always aim to work with law enforcement from the beginning. They can guide you on legal protocols to ensure the evidence is collected is admissible in court and that you don't break any laws yourself. Chris Hansen's operations are the gold standard here. He worked directly with the police. When a predator arrived at the sting house, Hansen would conduct a brief interview to confirm their intent on camera, and then literally waiting right outside the door, the police would immediately enter and make the legal arrest. That is the correct, effective, and legal way to do it. The second rule, do not commit entrapment. Now for our second major pitfall, entrapment. It's a legal defense where a defendant argues that they were induced or persuaded by the law enforcement or an agent acting on their behalf like a decoy to commit a crime that they were not otherwise predisposed to commit. In simpler terms, you can't trap someone into committing a crime they wouldn't have committed on their own. So how does this apply to catfishing? It comes down to your behavior as a decoy. To avoid entrapment, there are 3 golden rules. You cannot be the one to initiate contact. The predator must be the one who reaches out to your decoy profile first. You cannot reach out to them. Second, you cannot be the one to initiate sexual or suggestive conversation. Your decoy persona should be innocent and reactive, not proactive. You cannot talk sexually to the guy. He should be the one who does it. And third, you cannot be the one to suggest a meetup. The predator must propose the idea of meeting the person. You can agree to it, but you cannot be the one who plans the idea. If you are the one sexting a predator, you are actively encouraging them to respond in the same kind. A defense attorney would argue that if it weren't for your provocation, their client might have never crossed that line. While the predator still bears the ultimate responsibility for their actions, your actions could legally complicate or even completely derail the criminal case. You would be seen as a co-creator of the crime, not just an observer. Once again, Chris Hansen's operations provide a textbook example of how to do this right. If you review the chat logs from the shows, you'll see a clear pattern. The predator would write something explicit like, "I'm stroking myself thinking about you right now, baby." And the decoy's response would be something less simple and non-committal like, "Okay" or "cool." The decoy's persona is always one of a native kid who is being led along, not an active participant. By doing this, they ensure that every criminal action, the grooming, the explicit messages, the plan to meet, originates solely from the predator. There is no ambiguity. It is all himself. Now for an example of what this looks like when done wrong, let's take a look at a popular Discord catfisher named Duckis. In many of his videos, he clearly crosses the line into entrapment. Like, what is this? What the hell?
Wanna squeeze your face at my boobs?
You're 6 years. This is my profile, your local EV, female, I'm 14. We'll see how this does. I'm gonna call Vanilla first. We'll see what the fuck happens, you know?
Hey, I'd love to get to know you a bit better though.
Well, you sound really cute.
Thank you. You do too.
Should I say something like sus to this guy?
Oh, now I want to know. I'm curious. Oh, I like the sound of that.
Like, what even is this? If that isn't a textbook example of initiating sexual conversation, I don't know what is. A quick look at his channel's thumbnails and titles reinforces this point. One video is titled "Dominant Girl Catches Predators on Discord" with a thumbnail showing the decoy's text as "good boy" next to a kiss emoji. The term dominant itself implies taking control of a sexual interaction. You can't be a dominant force in a conversation without actively steering it in a sexual direction. which is the very definition of inducement. This kind of behavior provides a predator with a powerful legal defense, potentially allowing a guilty person to walk free. Wrapping it up, so to recap, if you're considering getting into predator catching, remember these two non-negotiable rules: no vigilantism and no entrapment. About vigilantism again, your job is to collect evidence for the authorities, not to be a one-person justice system. Hand the evidence over and let the police and courts do their job. And about entrapment, your role is to provide an opportunity for a predator to expose themselves, not to create a predator by encouraging or provoking them. Be passive, be reactive, and let them hang themselves with their own rope. The goal of this work should always be to achieve a legal and lasting consequence for these criminals. Anything that jeopardizes a successful prosecution is not only counterproductive, it's dangerous. I hope this has been helpful and clarifying for you all. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.